The demon, Shidou Ryusei, a pure instinct striker who thrives off unpredictability. At the start of the Neo Egoist League, Shidou joined PXG. But what if that decision changed? What if instead, he joined FC-Barcha? Today I want to explore how that one switch could have changed everything, not just for Shidou, but for the outcomes of the NEL as a whole. Because the more you look at it, the more it seems like Barcha might have been the better fit all along. Barcha's system focuses on two main things, freedom and creativity. Shidou's playstyle revolves around his instincts, an aggressive style which the freedom provided at Barcha would amplify. And then there's Lavinho. Compared to PXG's coaching, Lavinho actually seeks to improve his players. He encourages them to express themselves, and in doing so, he has successfully improved the creative capabilities of Bachira and Otoya. Under him, Shidou would begin to develop more awareness and versatility, something which he didn't get at PXG that caused his growth to stagnate. At Barcha, there's a real path for him to level up and become more creative in the way he plays, and when you start looking at the starting 11 Barcha would run, it gets even more interesting. At PXG, Shidou had to share the spotlight with Rin. That dynamic limited his role, however at Barcha it's different. He would become the clear focal point up front, with Bachira and Otoya supporting him from the wings. A front three of Shidou, Bachira and Otoya has some serious potential and would arguably be one of the most balanced and dangerous attacking trios in the entire NEL. Bachira would act as the creative engine. His dribbling would drag defenders out of position, weakening the backline, and his unpredictability would open up passing lanes most players won't even see. A player like Shidou, who thrives in broken play situations, could easily capitalize on this chaos to score. Otoya, the player with the best off-the-ball movements, would continue to stretch the backlines just as he does in the main timeline, creating pockets for Shidou to attack. Bachira and Otoya are highly complementary teammates for Shidou, as they would continue to grow their own weapons, posing as major threats to their opponents, whilst serving Shidou by pulling the strings around him, creating space and allowing him to focus on finishing, the thing he does best as a pure striker. But how would Shidou actually grow up Barcha? Shidou joining Barcha would expose them to a completely different philosophy, thus outputting a completely different player. Let's assume Shidou already has Predator Eye. At PXG, it was only utilised to react to passes from Charles. But in this timeline, Shidou would learn how to time his runs better, read the rhythm of the attack, and anticipate multiple capable playmakers. This would force his Predator Eye to evolve beyond the current level we see it at in the main story. On top of that, being in a system that values freedom would push Shidou to experiment more. We could potentially see Shidou develop his own on-the-ball creativity, something which he never had to do at PXG. This would make him even more versatile than just a clinical finisher. And with improved positioning and shooting ability, we would also see his conversion rate improve. Shidou would stand as a versatile top striker who doesn't just score bangers, but scores consistently. So how would the NEL matches played out with Shidou and Barcha? Note that in this timeline, I'll change the results of the matches Barcha plays, but the rest of the match results are the same as in the original timeline. For instance, Bastard Munich would still win 3-2 against Mannschine, Ubers and PXG. So, starting with FC Barcha vs Bastard Munich. The match plays out the same it did in the original, but in this timeline, Barcha would be able to better take advantage of the internal clashing Bastard Munich had been undergoing. I predict Shidou to score the winning goal via an assist from Bachira. A spectacular goal which would even receive recognition from Kaiser. Final score 3-2. In the second game, I predict a close loss for two reasons, plot and the defense of Ubers. This game would give Ubers the hype needed to set up Barrow's arc. Shidou still manages to score one goal, with Bachira scoring the other, but I think it's likely the large portion of the game would consist of them struggling in attack due to the presence of many strong defenders including Lorenzo, IQ, Nico, Aryu. The third game is huge for Shidou, as it is where he comes up against Rin and the rest of PXG. Shidou goes off in this game, scoring 2, while Rin responds with a hat-trick. PXG edges it in the end, but the rivalry heats up. In this timeline, Barcha performs well enough that Lavinho does not need to step in. The final game is arguably the easiest, although the scoreline might suggest otherwise. Shidou would score the opening goal, Otoya scores the second, and Bachira would seal the match, still delivering the failed egoist moment to Nagi, keeping the iconic scene from the original. So, would Shidou have been a better player at Barcha? I think yes, without a doubt. He would end the NEL with 5 goals, become a more clinical striker, and expand his creativity, possibly even developing his own dribbling style. Shidou could learn to effectively utilize his Predator Eye and sync amazingly with Bachira and Otoya. If Shidou went to FC Barcha, there would be no fraud narratives. He would still be ranked 3rd in the overall rankings, but this time the gap between Shidou and the top 2 would be smaller. Relative to the main timeline, I believe 175 million yen value would fairly reflect just how much more of a complete striker he has become. So, those are my thoughts on if Shidou went to FC Barcha. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, as well as what you would like to see next. And thanks for listening.